A mentor of mine once described to me that automotive brands who have engineers that get their start in racing will always build vehicles that are more satisfying to drive than those who don't. And the two main examples he used are Porsche and Honda. And it really is something intangible. It's something that you can't read on a spec sheet, you can't find in a brochure, but when you actually get behind the wheel of some of these cars, you go, oh, okay, I feel what you're talking about. Oh, man. Hey, everybody. It's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I don't have my silly little phone on a stick to show you all my face today because this is a driver's car. So we don't really need to screw around with much of the walk around, taking a look at all the fun bits, the features. We need to go for a drive. For those of you who didn't read the title very well, this is a 2022 Acura NSX Type S. The Type S model bumps up the horsepower to 600 peak horsepower when combined with the engine and the electric motors that are fitted to both the front and rear axles of the car. It's featuring the 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6, that hybrid powertrain that I told you about in there, the electric motors, two in the front, one in the rear, and then a 9-speed dual clutch automatic transmission that shifts oh so well. This is the very, very last Acura NSX. That's why it is a 2022. We're not reviewing too many 2022 cars anymore because we are well into 2023, but this car is no longer. Acura sent it off with this Type S model, only building, I think it was 250 or maybe 350. I think 250. Put it right here below us. This one's got an optional carbon package as well, or a lightweight package, I think it's called, giving us some interior bits as well as a bunch of carbon fiber around the car. And it's fitted in this Gotham gray paint. Now, admittedly, I'd probably get one of the more fun, loud colors they make, but this one does make it look pretty mature and pretty sleek. I should show you. Type S, 000 out of 000. That's what happens when you get a test car like this. But if you were actually a buyer, and I'm pretty sure they all sold out right away, but if you're actually an owner, it would give you which one out of 250 that you had. And then you can see the motor tucked away back there with some red accents. I'm going to get through this entire review without referring to the NSX as underrated, forgotten about, any of those cliches that reviewers like to use when talking about the NSX. We're just gonna review it. We're just gonna talk about it as a car. And I know you can't necessarily rush out to the dealership and buy one anymore, but we're gonna talk about kind of what it meant for Honda and Acura to build a car like this and to put so much heart and soul and passion. And I mean, heck, they built an entire development and build center in Ohio in order to make these, and then they didn't sell super well, and now they're not making them anymore. So, I mean, I'm sure they're doing other things with the plant, but it kind of shows you how much dedication and passion went into this car. So you kind of got to respect it. I mean, Honda is a pretty cool brand. And I'm going to refer to Honda a lot through this review because even though this is badged as an Acura here in the United States, I think it was the US, Japan, and Kuwait that had this car built as an Acura, and the rest of the world it was a Honda, same as the first generation. So really, just call it what it is. It's a Honda. And Honda's a weird brand because they build some remarkably practical and down-to-earth and utilitarian sort of vehicles, and then they build some amazing performance machines with weird quirks and great performance. If you look at Honda as a larger brand, not just the automotive, but you look at their other portfolios, they've got four-wheelers, they've got side-by-sides, they have motorcycles, they have airplanes, they have power generators, they have boat engines, they've got cars, trucks, and SUVs. So, I mean, the brand clearly has a lot going on, and you don't build a brand like that builds so many things without having a lot of people behind the scenes and making decisions that are passionate about what they do. Those projects don't just come around as accidents. This car does a 2.9 second 0 to 60 according to Car and Driver. And it doesn't matter how many cars you drive that have those sort of stats. It's an amazing number every time you feel it. And because this car has electric assist, you feel that power in a more immediate and in a rush way than you do with a lot of other cars that spout those sort of numbers. A mentor of mine once described to me that automotive brands who have engineers that get their start in racing will always build vehicles that are more satisfying to drive than those who don't. And the two main examples he used are Porsche and Honda. And it really is something intangible. It's something that you can't read on a spec sheet, you can't find in a brochure, but when you actually get behind the wheel of some of these cars, you go, oh, okay, I feel what you're talking about. And I actually used that same explanation when I was reviewing the Honda CR-V. Clearly a very different car than this, but again, a car that for those intangible sort of reasons is remarkably satisfying to drive for its segment. And the NSX is similar in that way, that it is really satisfying to drive. The steering, surprisingly, is really direct. And it made me think of the Nissan GTR. When that car first came out, the GTR was billed as this crazy, high-tech, almost like driving a video game sort of car. But now that the GTR has become very old, it's the opposite. People look at it and go, oh, this is kind of like an analog supercar still, because so many of the other vehicles have come so far and leapfrogged it in their computeristic and electronic feel. I feel a lot of that here with the NSX as well. This car came out about 6 or 7 years ago at this point and was absolutely a technological masterpiece and very futuristic and very advanced and kind of computery feeling. But now you drive it and you're like, oh, this infotainment's really old. You still got a lot of physical controls here for the HVAC, big button shifters, and then this remarkably direct driving experience. Even though when I press the brake pedal, I'm getting a degree of regeneration happening, it's still a very satisfying and positive braking experience. Type S models are fitted with Pirelli P0 tires, and it's not only the outright grip that helps the car, it's the responsiveness and the directness of the feel of the rubber that really goes a long way. I gotta be totally honest with you, part of the reason I like driving this car around is, as much as it stinks to admit, this is a lot of the driving experience when you've got a supercar. I mean, we're down here in Southern California, and as much as you'd love to be carving up corners every second of the day, a lot of times you're stuck in traffic. And so I find myself just driving this around in quiet mode and being comfortable. I think one of the most remarkable things about this car is that when I first got into it, one of my very first comments I made to Alyssa was, oh my gosh, these seats are comfortable. And they really are. We've got an Alcantara lining and some nice leather around the sides, and it hugs your body in such a comfortable and supportive way. I got in and I sunk in. I was like, It really makes you think. Honda and Acura unleashed their designers and engineers on this project. I mean, obviously, bringing back their Halo supercar, they wanted to put a whole degree of top-level design and engineering into it. So it's interesting to me that those designers and engineers decided to make a car that, yes, is remarkably capable on a racetrack and in a tight canyon road, but is also just such a nice and comfortable place to be. It kind of makes you think, okay, these must have been individuals who really expected to spend a lot of time in seat time in these cars, and expected the buyers to not simply have them parked in their garage for 99% of the time and then maybe take them out on the occasional track day or cars and coffee meet, but they expected people to drive them. And I think that's pretty cool, because I actually do really enjoy being in the seat of this car. And it's not just oh, this thing is cool, but man, am I ready to be done? I think I could spend an entire weekend just chilling in the driver's seat of this NSX. And it's even the Type S model. It's even the tuned up 211 version. In fact, Honda made a point of that not only is this Type S supposed to be more capable, but it's also more comfortable. They tuned the dampers and the powertrain to be better in both directions. 3.5 liter twin turbocharged V6 doesn't quite make the same sounds as you might be used to for a twin blown V6. We see a lot of these 3.5 liters now on the market. There's a lot of effort gone into the sound tuning of this vehicle, so it does sound unique. And that little bit of turbo blow off sound right outside of your left ear. So much fun. The dual clutch fits this car so well. The shifts are, no surprise, even sharper for the Type S model. And the whole car is such a satisfying extension of body. Because it's an all-wheel drive hybrid, but only the electric motors power the front wheels, the car can actually slow the front wheels down or speed them up individually to help the car corner. So it's actually what you'd call torque vectoring, but for the layman terms, just know that it's using the individual wheel control to help the car feel like it's smaller and lighter and more nimble than it would be without. It really doesn't want to hang out in first gear though. I'd love to have this car in a snowy driving situation, something like an ice racing course. I think that'd be fantastic. We'll let you bounce off the rev limiter up there. We had an Acura NSX out on track at Gingerman Raceway a few years ago, and it was such a fun and satisfying car to push then, and it really is now too. The bandwidth is so impressive. This particular car has been used for a lot of journalist activity. It's got almost 9,000 miles on it. It'll have over 9,000 by the time I'm done with it. And it's been used for track events and a whole bunch of reviews. And the steering wheel, the leather on it has this nice worn-in feel to it. Leather feels better with age, good leather. And this wheel is very thin, and it feels kind of smooth now. You got this carbon fiber bit on top that sort of helps break it up. I really do like it, but it still smells good in here. It's a nice, satisfying Honda smell. I don't really expect a ton of people to watch this video. Usually I do try to get cars that there's going to be a good amount of interest in, but I knew that this was essentially my last chance to drive this car outside of someone having it in their personal fleet and letting me take it for a spin or something like that. But it was going to be my last chance to pretend that I'm an Acura NSX owner for a few days. And I had to take advantage of that because this really is a special car. I mean, look at the first generation NSX, how that was kind of forgotten about in its day. Can't say forgotten. How it was a good car and how people are flocking to it now. I really wonder and pretty much expect that to happen for this new one here as well. Give it 10, 15 years and people are going to start snatching these up. So do your Doug DeMuro right now and go out and buy one about 5 years once they bottom out, and you'll be in a good spot. Here it is, the Acura NSX Type S. An awesome car, and one that I am so happy I got to spend some more time with. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the NSX, check the link in the description. I am going to do a breakout review on the ELS sound system. I'm going to shoot that right now, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, passionate engineering on.